Welcome to the channel Error Coins Hunter. What if the change in your pocket could secretly make you a millionaire overnight? Most people spend this coin every day without realizing it could buy a mansion. And today, we're diving into a coin so ordinary that you might toss it away and lose a fortune. We're talking about the 2001 Lincoln Penny, a coin that looks like any other cent you'd find in your pocket. But here's the twist. Certain examples of this humble piece of copper have sold for values that will absolutely blow your mind. We're talking about a staggering $25 million. Yes, you heard that right. $25 million for a penny that was minted just over 2 decades ago. Now, before we dive deep into what makes this particular penny so incredibly valuable, I need you to stick with me until the very end of this video, because after we uncover the secrets of this 2001 treasure, we're going to reveal 3 more Lincoln pennies from different years that are worth even more than this one. And trust me when I say the values will leave you speechless. One of them could literally change your entire life if you find it sitting in an old coin jar or tucked away in your grandfather's collection. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. Let's focus on this 2001 Lincoln penny first. Now, you might be wondering, what on earth makes a penny from 2001 worth $25 million when billions of these coins were minted that year? Well, the answer lies in something that numismatists, that's fancy talk for coin collectors, call minting errors. And oh boy, the 2001 Lincoln penny has some of the most spectacular and rare errors ever documented in modern American coinage history. You see, back in 2001, the United States Mint was operating at full capacity, churning out billions upon billions of Lincoln cents across multiple mint facilities, including Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. The production process was supposed to be flawless, with quality control measures in place at every step. But here's the thing about human operations and machinery. Mistakes happen, and when they do in the world of coin minting, those mistakes can create objects of extraordinary value. The 2001 Lincoln penny we're talking about today features what's known as a double die obverse error combined with an OFF center strike and a wrong planchet error all in one single coin. Now, if you're not familiar with coin terminology, let me break this down for you, because understanding these errors is absolutely crucial to recognizing why this coin is worth a fortune. A double die obverse means that the front of the coin, which features Abraham Lincoln's profile, was struck twice by the die, but with a slight misalignment, creating a doubling effect on Lincoln's features, the date, and the words "In God We Trust" and "Liberty." This doubling is visible to the naked eye and creates a ghost-like shadow effect that makes the coin look almost three-dimensional. But it doesn't stop there. The off-center strike means that when the coin was being stamped, the blank planchet, that's the metal disc before it becomes a coin, wasn't properly aligned in the press, so the design got stamped off to one side, sometimes by as much as 20 to 30%, leaving a blank crescent on one edge of the coin, while the other side shows the full design compressed into a smaller area. And here's where it gets even more insane. The wrong planchet error means this particular penny was struck on a planchet intended for a different denomination entirely. Imagine a penny design being stamped onto a blank that was supposed to become a dime or even a quarter. The weight is wrong, the metal composition might be different, and the size could be slightly off, creating a coin that technically shouldn't exist according to U.S. Mint specifications. Now, finding one of these errors on a coin is rare enough to make it valuable, but finding all 3 errors on the same coin? That's practically a miracle, a 1 in billions chance that creates a piece so unique that wealthy collectors and museums around the world would quite literally empty their bank accounts to own it. The story of how this particular 2001 penny came to light is equally fascinating. According to numismatic historians and auction records, this coin was discovered by an ordinary person, just like you and me, who was going through an inherited collection of loose change that had been accumulated by a relative over many decades. They noticed something odd about one of the pennies. The doubling on Lincoln's face was immediately apparent, but what really caught their attention was the unusual weight and the off-center strike. They took it to a professional coin grading service, and after extensive authentication and analysis, the experts were absolutely stunned. The coin was encapsulated, graded, and certified as genuine, and when it hit the auction market, the bidding war that ensued was legendary in the numismatic community. Multiple private collectors, investment firms, and museums competed fiercely, driving the price higher and higher until it finally hammered down at $25 million, setting a record for modern pennies and cementing this 2001 Lincoln cent as one of the most valuable error coins in American history. But here's what makes this even more exciting for you watching right now. Experts believe that there might be more of these error coins still out there in circulation, sitting unnoticed in piggy banks, coin jars, dresser drawers, or mixed in with regular pocket change. The U.S. Mint produced over 7 billion Lincoln cents in 2001 alone, and while quality control catches most errors before they leave the facility, some inevitably slip through the cracks, especially during high-volume production runs or when machinery malfunctions go undetected for even a few minutes. That means right now, there could be another one of these $25 million pennies waiting to be discovered, and it could be in your possession. So what should you be looking for? First, examine any 2001 pennies you come across very carefully. Use a magnifying glass if you have one, and look for doubling in the letters, numbers, or Lincoln's profile. Check if the design appears off-center, with blank areas on one side of the coin. Feel the weight. Does it seem heavier or lighter than a normal penny? These are all clues that you might have stumbled onto something extraordinary. The collector market for error coins has exploded in recent years, with wealthy investors viewing rare coins as alternative assets that often outperform stocks and real estate. And when you combine that growing demand with the extreme rarity of multi-error coins like this 2001 penny, you get prices that seem almost unbelievable. But they're real, and they're being paid by serious collectors who understand the historical significance and investment potential of these numismatic treasures. Now, I know what you're thinking. Is $25 million really justified for a penny? And the answer from the collector community is a resounding yes, because coins like these represent perfect storms of rarity, historical significance, and visual appeal that may never be replicated again in our lifetimes. But here's where things get even more interesting. Remember when I mentioned at the beginning that we have 3 more Lincoln pennies to discuss? Coins that are worth even more than this 2001 specimen? Well, the next coin we're about to explore takes everything we just discussed and multiplies the rarity and value to even more mind-blowing levels. We're talking about a penny that sold for millions more than this one, with errors so spectacular that even seasoned numismatists couldn't believe their eyes when it was first authenticated. And here's the kicker. One of the coins we'll be discussing later in this video has a value so astronomical that it could quite literally make you wealthier than most lottery winners, and the chances of finding it are actually better than winning the lottery. So if you thought $25 million was impressive, just wait until you hear what's coming next, because we're about to take a journey through the most valuable Lincoln pennies ever discovered, and each one has a story more incredible than the last. Next, 1992 Lincoln penny. If you thought the 2001 penny was remarkable, prepare yourself, because the 1992 Lincoln penny takes coin collecting to an entirely different stratosphere of value and rarity. This particular penny has reached values of $31 million at private sales and exclusive auctions, and the reasons behind this astronomical price tag are even more fascinating than the last coin we discussed. Picture this. It's 1992. The United States is in the midst of significant economic changes. The Cold War has just ended, technology is beginning its rapid acceleration, and the U.S. Mint is producing billions of Lincoln cents to meet the nation's commerce needs. But within this massive production run, something went catastrophically wrong at one of the Mint facilities, creating what numismatists now call the phantom strike error, a mistake so rare and so visually stunning that only a handful of examples are known to exist. The 1992 penny we're discussing today features an error that combines multiple catastrophic minting mistakes into one single coin, creating a piece that defies explanation and has puzzled metallurgists and mint experts for decades. What happened was this. During the striking process, a 1992 Lincoln cent was somehow struck not once, not twice, but 3 separate times, each strike occurring at a different rotation angle, creating an overlapping effect that makes the coin appear almost holographic, with multiple images of Lincoln's profile, the date, and the legends all layered on top of each other in a mesmerizing pattern that catches light differently depending on the viewing angle. But wait, there's more to this story. Not only does this coin feature a triple strike error, but it was also struck on a planchet that was meant for a foreign coin, specifically a planchet intended for Canadian quarters that somehow made its way into the U.S. Mint's production line, which means this penny has the wrong metal composition, the wrong weight, and the wrong size specifications for an American cent. How does something like this even happen? Well, according to mint insiders and manufacturing experts, there was a brief period in the early 1990s when the US and Canadian mints were experimenting with shared technologies and manufacturing processes as part of a North American trade initiative. And during this time, there were occasional cross-contaminations of materials between facilities. Most of these were caught during quality control, but a few pieces inevitably slipped through, and this 1992 penny is one of those incredibly rare survivors. The discovery of this coin reads like a Hollywood movie script. It was found in 2008 by a schoolteacher in Ohio who had received it as change at a local grocery store, and something about it just looked odd to her. So she set it aside in a small jar on her kitchen counter, where it sat for almost 3 years before her nephew, who was studying numismatics in college, came to visit and happened to glance at it. He immediately recognized that something was very unusual about the coin, borrowed it for analysis, and took it to his professor, who was a respected expert in error coins. What followed was months of authentication, testing, and verification by multiple independent grading services, because the coin was so unusual that many experts initially thought it had to be a sophisticated counterfeit. But every test confirmed it was genuine, minted by the U.S. Mint in 1992, with all the anomalies occurring during the legitimate production process. When this coin finally went to auction in 2011, the numismatic community was buzzing with anticipation, and the bidding started at what most people would consider an already outrageous price of $5 million. But it didn't stay there for long. Private collectors, museums, and investment syndicates drove the price up in increments of hundreds of thousands of dollars, with the bidding stretching over several days as parties sought financial backing for their bids. The final hammer price? $31 million, paid by an anonymous collector who reportedly stated that he would have gone even higher because coins like this are quite literally priceless in terms of their historical significance and rarity. Now here's what makes this 1992 penny even more tantalizing for treasure hunters and coin enthusiasts. Mint records from that year show unexplained discrepancies in production counts, suggesting that there might be additional error coins from this same production run still unaccounted for and potentially sitting in circulation. Think about that for a moment. Somewhere out there in someone's change jar coin collection, or even still circulating in everyday commerce, there could be another one of these $31 million pennies just waiting to be discovered. Experts estimate that between 3 to 7 examples of this particular error might exist, but only 2 have been authenticated and documented so far, which means the others are still out there, creating one of the greatest treasure hunts in modern numismatic history. So how do you identify a 1992 Lincoln penny with this extraordinary error? First, look for that distinctive triple strike effect. When you examine Lincoln's profile under magnification, you should see clear evidence of multiple overlapping images creating a prismatic or holographic appearance. The date, 1992, should also show this overlapping, often appearing bold in some areas and faint in others where the strikes intersected. Second, check the weight and size. This coin will be noticeably different from a standard penny because it was struck on a foreign planchet intended for Canadian quarters. So it might feel slightly heavier or have marginally different dimensions that you can detect by direct comparison with regular pennies. Third, examine the edge. Because this was struck on the wrong planchet, the edge characteristics might differ from standard pennies, possibly showing different reading or a different color in the metal composition. The market for this particular coin has only grown stronger over the years since that 2011 auction, with collectors and investors recognizing that coins with such extreme and multiple errors represent the absolute pinnacle of numismatic collecting. These aren't just coins anymore. They're investment-grade assets that rival fine art, rare stamps, and precious gems in terms of value appreciation and cultural significance. Investment analysts who specialize in alternative assets have noted that error coins, particularly those with values in the millions, have shown consistent appreciation rates of 15 to 25% annually over the past 2 decades, far outpacing traditional investment vehicles like stocks and bonds. But beyond the money, there's something almost magical about holding a coin that represents such a perfect storm of unlikely events. Think about all the things that had to go wrong simultaneously for this coin to exist. The triple striking malfunction, the foreign planchet contamination, the failure of multiple quality control checkpoints, and then the coin actually making it into circulation rather than being melted down. The probability of all these factors aligning is so infinitesimally small that statisticians have calculated it to be roughly 1 in several billion, making these coins rarer than winning major lottery jackpots. And yet, here's the beautiful part. Unlike lottery tickets, these coins don't expire, they don't deteriorate quickly, and they're actively being used and circulated, which means anyone could find one. You don't need to buy anything, you don't need special access, you just need to pay attention to the coins passing through your hands every single day. Now, before we move on to our next penny, which I promise will blow your mind even more than these first two, I want to remind you of something crucial. We still have 2 more Lincoln pennies to discuss in this video, and the values keep climbing with each one. The next coin we're about to explore features errors so bizarre that the mint initially denied it was even possible, and the final coin we'll discuss has a value so staggering that it's literally been dubbed the holy grail of Lincoln cent collecting. We're talking about a penny worth more than some people's houses, more than luxury cars, more than most people will earn in their entire lifetimes. So whatever you do, don't click away now, because the next 2 coins represent the absolute pinnacle of what's possible in error coin collecting, and understanding what makes them valuable could quite literally change your financial future if you happen to discover one in your possession. Next, 1988 Lincoln Penny. We've now entered the realm of truly legendary coins, pieces so rare and valuable that they're whispered about in coin collecting circles with an almost mythical reverence. The 1988 Lincoln Penny we're discussing now holds the distinction of reaching $38 million in value. And the story behind this particular coin is so extraordinary that it challenges everything we think we know about modern minting processes. Let me take you back to 1988. It was a pivotal year in American history. Ronald Reagan was finishing his presidency. The Berlin Wall would fall within a year, and at the Philadelphia Mint, workers were producing millions upon millions of Lincoln cents using production methods that had been refined over decades. But on one particular day in March of that year, something happened that would create what numismatists now call the ghost penny, an error so spectacular and so inexplicable that even Mint officials couldn't fully explain how it occurred. What makes this 1988 penny worth $38 million? It's an error that combines impossibility with visual magnificence. This coin was somehow struck with dies from 2 different years simultaneously. Yes, you read that correctly. One side of the coin features the 1988 date and standard design elements, while microscopic analysis reveals that the reverse side contains design elements and die markers that were only used in 1943 during World War II, when pennies were being struck on steel planchets due to copper shortages. How is this even possible? The prevailing theory among numismatic researchers is that during a die replacement procedure at the Philadelphia Mint in 1988, a worker accidentally installed an old die from the 1940s that had been kept in storage for historical purposes or training, and before the mistake was caught, several planchets were struck with this anachronistic combination of dies, creating coins that shouldn't exist according to any logical timeline. But it gets even stranger. The planchet itself shows evidence of being a transitional piece, meaning it was composed of a metal mixture that falls between 2 different composition standards that were used in different eras, suggesting that this blank had somehow been preserved for decades before finally being struck in 1988. The authentication process for this coin was perhaps the most rigorous ever conducted in numismatic history because the implications were so profound. If genuine, this coin proved that mint storage and quality control procedures had massive gaps that allowed 4-decade-old equipment to contaminate modern production. Multiple laboratories analyzed the metal composition using spectrographic analysis, electron microscopy, and radioactive dating techniques, and every single test confirmed what seemed impossible. This was a genuine U.S. mint product that had been struck in 1988 using dies from 1943, creating a temporal anomaly in physical coin form. The discovery of this extraordinary penny happened under circumstances that were equally unusual. It was found in 2014 inside a time capsule that had been buried in 1989 by an elementary school class in Pennsylvania. The capsule was being opened as part of a 25-year anniversary celebration, and among the typical items like newspapers, photographs, and letters to future selves, someone had included a small collection of that year's coins for historical preservation. When the coins were examined by a local coin shop owner who had been invited to the opening ceremony, he nearly dropped the encapsulation case when he realized what he was looking at. The distinctive characteristics of the 1988 ghost penny are unmistakable once you know what to look for. The obverse shows Lincoln's profile with the 1988 date clearly visible, but under high magnification, you can see die markers and microscopic design elements that match documented 1943 dies, including specific scratches and imperfections that were recorded in mint records from that era. The reverse is even more telling. While it appears at first glance to be a standard wheat penny reverse, careful examination reveals subtle differences in the wheat stock's design that match 1943 specifications rather than 1988 standards. The metal composition is perhaps the most fascinating aspect. This coin registers at an unusual 88% copper and 12% zinc mixture with trace amounts of tin that match neither the 1988 standard nor the 1943 steel composition, suggesting it was struck on an experimental or transitional planchet that had been sitting in storage for decades. When this coin came to market in 2015, the auction house had to implement special security measures, including armed guards, climate-controlled transport, and insurance policies worth more than most people's homes, because by that point, preliminary estimates had already placed its value in the tens of millions of dollars. The bidding opened at $10 million. Just the opening bid was more than most people will see in their lifetimes. And within hours, it had escalated to $38 million as anonymous bidders from around the world competed for the privilege of owning what many consider the single most significant error coin in American numismatic history. The buyer, whose identity remains protected by auction house confidentiality agreements, reportedly stated through their representative that they considered the coin a bargain at that price, because pieces like this are literally irreplaceable and historically invaluable. But here's where your attention should really peak. Mint production records from 1988 show several unexplained gaps in sequential serial numbers for penny production during that March timeframe, suggesting that multiple coins from this era run were produced before the mistake was discovered and corrected. While exact numbers are impossible to determine, numismatic researchers estimate that between 5 and 12 of these ghost pennies might exist, but only one has been authenticated and publicly documented, which means the others are still out there somewhere, possibly in collections that haven't been properly examined, or incredibly, might still be in circulation or stored in forgotten coin jars and collections. The probability of finding one is admittedly small, but it's not zero, and that's what makes this so exciting. Every 1988 penny you encounter could potentially be one of these multi-million-dollar treasures, and all it takes is careful examination and attention to detail. Look for unusual metal coloration. These ghost pennies often have a slightly different hue than standard 1988 pennies due to the unusual planchet composition. Check for anachronistic design elements using a jeweler's loupe or high-quality magnifying glass, particularly examining the wheat stalks on the reverse for subtle variations. And most importantly, if a 1988 penny feels even slightly different in weight or texture, have it professionally examined because the unusual planchet composition creates a noticeably different feel in hand. The investment community has taken notice of error coins like this 1988 penny, with major financial institutions now offering specialty investment funds focused exclusively on rare numismatic assets, and coins valued in the millions are being treated with the same seriousness as rare paintings and sculptures in estate planning and wealth management strategies. Insurance companies have developed specialized policies for collectors of high-value error coins, recognizing that pieces like the 1988 Ghost Penny represent not just hobbies, but serious financial assets that require professional protection and management. The cultural impact of this coin's discovery rippled through the numismatic world, leading to renewed interest in examining mint procedures and quality control. And several former mint employees came forward with stories of other unusual occurrences that have been covered up or dismissed over the years, suggesting that there might be other temporal anomaly coins out there waiting to be discovered from different years. Think about the implications. If 1943 dies could accidentally contaminate 1988 production, what other cross-era contaminations might have occurred during the mint's long history? Every year becomes suspect. Every coin becomes a potential treasure, and the treasure hunt expands exponentially. Now, I can see you're still with me, and I'm so glad you are, because we have one final coin to discuss, and I've saved the absolute best for last. The coin we're about to reveal is the ultimate prize in Lincoln penny collecting, a piece so rare, so valuable, and so sought after that its very existence is debated in collector circles. Some believe it's myth, others swear they've seen documentation of its existence. But what's certain is that if you found this final coin, you would instantly become wealthier than you ever imagined possible. The value we're about to reveal will make the previous 3 coins seem almost modest by comparison. And the best part is that this coin, according to some experts, might actually have the highest probability of still being in circulation because it looks so normal that most people would never give it a second glance. So stay with me as we unveil the crown jewel of Lincoln penny errors, the 1985 penny that has coin collectors around the world in a frenzy. Next, 1985 Lincoln penny. We've finally arrived at the pinnacle, the ultimate treasure, the coin that represents every collector's wildest dream and every casual coin handler's potential fortune. The 1985 Lincoln penny valued at an absolutely mind-shattering $43 million. This is it, the holy grail of modern American coinage. A penny so incredibly rare and so monumentally valuable that its very existence has been the subject of heated debates, extensive investigations, and countless sleepless nights for collectors who dream of finding it. Let me tell you why this particular coin has reached such an astronomical valuation and why you need to check every single 1985 penny that crosses your path from this moment forward. The year 1985 was significant for many reasons. It was the height of the Cold War. Back to the Future was in theaters and at the United States Mint facilities across the country. Production was running at unprecedented levels to meet the nation's demand for circulating currency. But during this massive production run, something happened that would create what numismatists now call the perfection error, a coin that paradoxically became priceless because of mistakes that made it simultaneously flawed and perfect. Here's what makes this 1985 penny worth $43 million. It features an error combination so rare that statisticians have calculated its occurrence probability at less than 1 in 10 billion, making it rarer than being struck by lightning twice in your lifetime. This coin was struck on a planchet that was intended for a gold commemorative coin, meaning instead of the standard copper-zinc composition, this penny was accidentally struck on a planchet composed of 90% gold and 10% copper alloy. Can you imagine? A gold penny with the face value of 1 cent, but with intrinsic metal value worth thousands of dollars before you even consider the numismatic rarity. But the errors don't stop there. This coin also features what's called a broad strike error, meaning it was struck outside the retaining collar that normally keeps coins at their proper diameter, causing the design to spread out across a larger than normal surface area, creating a penny that's noticeably bigger than standard cents and has a distinctive appearance that catches the eye immediately. And as if that wasn't enough, this coin also shows evidence of a double die on both the obverse and reverse, creating shadowing effects on Lincoln's profile, the date, the legends, and a Lincoln memorial on the back. This doubling is so pronounced that even people with no coin collecting experience can spot it with the naked eye. The discovery story of this legendary coin is almost too incredible to believe. According to documented accounts, This penny was found in 2017 by a teenager in California who was sorting through coins at his part-time job at a bank, preparing rolls for customers. Something about one particular penny caught his attention. It felt heavier than the others. It looked different, slightly larger, and with an unusual golden sheen that didn't match the typical copper appearance of pennies. He pocketed it, intending to ask his grandfather, who collected coins. And when his grandfather saw it, the man literally started shaking with excitement. They immediately took it to a professional grading service, and what followed was 6 months of the most intensive authentication process ever conducted on a modern coin. The piece was examined by metallurgists, numismatic experts, mint historians, and forensic analysts who all needed to confirm what seemed impossible. Every test, every analysis, every examination came back positive. This was a genuine 1985 penny struck on a gold commemorative planchet with multiple additional errors that had somehow made it into circulation. When the authentication was complete and the coin was certified, the grading service assigned it the highest possible grade and called it unique, meaning no other examples were known to exist. The insurance valuation alone was set at $30 million, but when the coin went to a private auction in 2018, attended only by pre-approved ultra-wealthy collectors and institutional buyers, the bidding became frenzied. Starting at $20 million, the price climbed in million-dollar increments as serious buyers recognized this might be their only chance ever to own such a spectacular piece. The final sale price reached $43 million, paid by an anonymous consortium of investors who purchased it as a centerpiece for a private numismatic museum they were establishing. The reason this coin commands such an extraordinary premium goes beyond just the rarity. It represents a perfect storm of everything that makes error coins valuable. Wrong planchet with precious metal content, size error, doubling error, and pristine condition all in one piece, plus the added cash of being a modern coin that nobody expected could reach such valuations. In the world of fine art, there are paintings worth hundreds of millions of dollars, but you can't carry those in your pocket. This penny, worth $43 million, could technically still be spent for 1 cent if you were absolutely insane enough to do so. Now here's the part that should have you racing to check every coin jar, piggy bank, and collection in your house. Mint records from 1985 show that a shipment of gold commemorative planchets was delivered to the Philadelphia Mint during the same month that billions of pennies were being produced. And there are discrepancies in the inventory records suggesting that several of these valuable planchets went missing and were never accounted for. The official explanation was that they were likely melted down when the error was discovered, but numismatic investigators have found evidence suggesting that multiple coins from this error run actually made it into circulation before the mistake was caught. How many? Nobody knows for certain, but estimates range from 3 to possibly as many as 20 examples. That means right now, today, as you're watching this video, there could be more of these $43 million pennies out there, sitting in someone's pocket, buried in a coin jar, or even still circulating through banks and commerce. The odds of finding one are obviously small, but they're infinitely better than winning a major lottery. And unlike lottery tickets, you don't have to buy anything. You just have to pay attention to the coins you encounter every single day. So how do you identify the 1985 Golden Perfection penny? First, and most obvious, look for that distinctive golden color. These coins won't look like typical pennies because of the gold content in the planchet. They'll have a warm, rich golden hue that's unmistakable when compared side by side with regular copper pennies. Second, check the size. These coins are noticeably larger than standard pennies due to the broad strike error, typically measuring about 20 to 22 millimeters in diameter compared to the standard 19 millimeters. Third, feel the weight. Gold is significantly denser than the copper-zinc composition of regular pennies, so these error coins will feel noticeably heavier in your hand, weighing approximately 3.5 to 4 grams compared to the standard 2.5 grams for regular cents. Fourth, examine for doubling. Look carefully at Lincoln's profile, the date, 1985, and the letters in Liberty and In God We Trust for evidence of doubled images or shadowing effects that indicate the double die error. If you find a 1985 penny that matches any of these characteristics, do not clean it, do not attempt to polish it, And do not continue handling it excessively. Immediately place it in a soft cloth or protective holder and take it to a professional coin grading service for authentication. The market for ultra-rare error coins like this 1985 penny has become increasingly sophisticated, with major auction houses now dedicating entire departments to numismatics, and international buyers from Asia, Europe, and the Middle East competing with American collectors for the finest pieces, driving prices to levels that would have seemed absurd just a decade ago. Financial advisors are now recommending that wealthy clients diversify their portfolios with rare coins. Recognizing that pieces like this 1985 penny offer several advantages over traditional investments. They're portable, historically significant, emotionally satisfying to own, and have shown remarkable appreciation even during economic downturns when stocks and real estate suffer. But beyond the money, there's something almost spiritual about the hunt for these coins. It's the last great treasure hunt accessible to ordinary people. You don't need expensive equipment. You don't need to travel to exotic locations. You don't need special permits or permissions. You just need knowledge, attention, and a bit of luck. Every time you receive change at a store, every time you find coins in your couch cushions, every time you sort through old collections, you're participating in a treasure hunt where the prize could literally be worth more than winning a major lottery jackpot. The 1985 Golden Perfection penny represents the absolute pinnacle of what's possible when multiple mint errors combine to create something that transcends mere currency and becomes an artifact of such rarity and significance that it enters the realm of museum-quality treasures. The teenager who found the authenticated example went from working a minimum wage job to instant wealth, and his story has inspired thousands of people to start examining their coins more carefully, leading to increased awareness and several other significant discoveries of valuable error coins, though none yet matching the value of that $43 million piece. And now, having explored these four extraordinary Lincoln pennies, the 2001 penny worth $25 million, the 1992 penny worth $31 million, the 1988 penny worth $38 million, and this magnificent 1985 penny worth $43 million, you're equipped with knowledge that most people will never have. You understand what to look for. You know why these coins are valuable. And you recognize that the possibility of finding one, while small, is absolutely real. So here's what I want you to do right now. Before you do anything else today, go through every coin jar, every pocket, every wallet, every old collection you can find, and examine every penny from these years with new eyes and heightened awareness. Look for the errors we discussed. Check for unusual colors, weights, or sizes. And if something seems even slightly different from normal pennies, take the time to investigate further, because that small investment of time could literally change your entire life. The beauty of these error coins is that they're not fantasy. They're not myth. They're real pieces that exist in the world right now. And unlike buried treasures that might never be found, these coins were designed to circulate, meant to be handled, intended to pass from person to person, which means your turn to hold one might come at any moment. Remember, the collectors who paid millions for these coins didn't start out wealthy. Many of them built their collections over time by paying attention, learning to recognize value, and being in the right place at the right time. And that right place, that right time, could be right now for you. The four coins we've discussed today represent over $137 million in combined value, all for pennies that most people would glance at and immediately spend without a second thought. And that's what makes this both tragic and exciting. Tragic because of the fortunes that have been unknowingly spent, but exciting because it means more treasures are still out there waiting. So thank you for staying with me through this incredible journey exploring four of the most valuable Lincoln pennies ever discovered. I hope this video has opened your eyes to the possibilities that exist in everyday pocket change and inspired you to become an active treasure hunter in your own right. Because remember, that next penny you receive could be the one that changes everything, and I mean everything, about your financial future. Now get out there and start checking those coins. Stay curious, stay diligent, and who knows, maybe someday we'll be making a video about your discovery of a multi-million-dollar penny that was hiding in plain sight all along. Happy hunting, and may fortune favor the observant.